Peace, love, and light, everyone. Peace, love, and light. Today we have a guest. We're going to be talking to Javante and Betty Battle about building up the youth. Why you should involve your children in your practice. This is such an important topic. Honestly, a lot of people, a lot of healers, we put that work into others, but miss those opportunity with our own children under our belt. And so Javante and Betty are going to give us some tips and tricks about what they do, because they are a perfect example. If you head over to their social media, they are talking all things self-help, self-healing, self-love to their children. Their children are involved in meditation, in Reiki, in all things healing. And so that's why we're here today. We're going to talk some things. We're going to talk about children. We're going to talk about building up your children, building up, being cautious. Yeah, so I'm just going to type in the topics here to get some people in. So, if you love these type of rooms, please feel free to ping your friends, ping your family. These are high vibrational conversations that we're trying to have, that we're trying to put out into the world. These ones that we host here on the Sunday, they're very intimate conversations. So I'm not the one to be like, go, we're not going to do it until we get this amount of pings. No, this is an intimate conversation. These are conversations that need to be had. And I love the fact that we're having them on Clubhouse, which gives you a chance to replay them as much as possible. So if you don't have a pencil and some paper to take down the gems that Javante and Betty is about to give us, then come back to this. You are free to listen to this. This is a timeless energy exchange. So again, we are talking all things building up the youth, why you should involve your children in your practice. Javante, you're on. Hi, Javante and Betty. I'm gonna let you guys say hi before I go into my spiel.
Hey, what's up,
Hello,
y'all?
hello. Good morning.
Hello, thank you guys so much for coming on. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here and have this conversation because it is very important.
Yes, you guys are look. When I thought about this, I couldn't think of anybody better, because you guys are an example, and you guys are a young couple doing it. Because
Thank
people
you.
try to put age on it, like, well, when you're older and you become wiser. No, you guys are
Mm-mm.
showing people now this is what you can do. Betty, you posted something and it was really heartfelt when you guys got back from Hawaii. Your kids went to school and they came back and they were talking about the experience they had with Reiki. And I just loved that. I just like, oh my God, that is so beautiful, that back in the day, people used to be embarrassed of that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and your children are embracing it. And I love that. So thank you guys again.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So before we allow you guys to talk, we're kind of gonna go through what I like to call the gemstone of the week. You guys know we are Spiritual Garden Healing. We love our stones, and so we want to give that education, that information. So when people purchase these stones, they sit it in their house as home decor. They collect dust. They don't know what to do with it. And so this is my chance to give that information to teach you guys there's other things and great benefits to stones. So before I get started, please, please, please follow Javante. Betty doesn't have a clubhouse, but follow Javante. If you have any questions for Betty, contact them both. They are great people. Follow them on all platforms. So please, if you're familiar with Clubhouse, you understand the algorithm. So, like this page, like people's page you would like to see more of. So, if you like high vibrational conversations, like this, hold down your picture and love this room so other people in the hallway can see that this room is happening and they can come get some self healing and some self love. Okay, so thank you for that. And I am kind of gonna just get right into it. Today, the gemstone of the week is black tourmaline. So, excuse me if I say anything wrong, you guys. So, what tourmaline, another name for tourmaline is schorl. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's SCHORL. And a lot of people know tourmaline to be a protection stone, and so they're like, it protects you from this, but it protects you, it does a lot of blocking. So it's blocking the energies and the experiences that can truly be extracted out of your body. Like, so any bad experiences within yourself, whether it's mind, body, and soul, tourmaline can help you there. So black tourmaline is super liberating. Like, it really, of course, we know that it's protecting you, but it's really protecting your body from all negative influences, including yourself. We get into these negative thoughts, and this, and I'm always going to go back to self-healing and self-development, because that's what it's all about, because we can never change anybody else, we can only change ourselves. And so when we get into these mind frames and people are projecting onto us, it's important for us to protect ourselves, to block that energy, because not a lot of us are healers and do this on a daily. So it's important for you to take the tools that's available for you and to be able to heal yourself. So obviously, in today's world, electronics and gadgets are like, we're completely surrounded by it, constant radiation. So if you are familiar with EMFs, that is electromagnetic fields that we are being affected by every day. Me talking in my phone right now, sitting next to my Mac, next to a television, that's radiation, and tourmaline helps block that radiation. It's like, and this radiation, we're all being exposed to it. So no one can say I don't have that. Like, no, if you have a phone, you're being exposed to it. And if you're sleeping next to your phone, under your pillow, next to you, yeah, you're being exposed. And that's why a lot of people like put it out the room when they're going to sleep and things like that, because you are being exposed to those EMFs. So if you most people own a cell phone and you're on your phone at least 9 hours a day scrolling. So can you imagine the EMFs that's really into exposure with, so black tourmaline minimizes that. So if you are suffering from any type of headache, fatigue, muscle pain, nausea, what else? Like straining of the eyes, we know vision problems because of your phone, short term memory, those are all associated with EMS. So you could possibly be having um, radiation issues that you needed to heal from. And so putting tourmaline in your home can help absorb and get rid of that negative energy from those electronics. So place it near your computer, place it next to your television, anywhere that there's radiation in your room. Put it on yourself. So we already know it's protecting you from others and your own self and that negative energy. Wear black tourmaline jewelry. Place it in your purse. I throw it in my bra, so do whatever works for you, but have it. Protect yourself from those negative frequencies. It's important to use those tools available to us, because we get into these mind frames. And I don't know about anybody else, but my family gets into the mind frame of that, like crystals and sage may be associated with something negative, and they don't really know the history behind this. This comes from Mother Earth and nature. There's no negative other than obviously negative and positive when we talk about um electronic fields and frequencies, but there's no negativity to that. We can really use these natural tools to heal and elevate ourselves, and we have been doing it for years, you guys, years. yesterday I was in a sacred community birth workers training, and it was life changing. Like, and it's crazy because we already had this conversation set, but the things that she spoke on was just life changing, just being brought up in that way, being your parents, she remembers her parents sending her out into the world to pick up rocks. Her mom was a birth worker, pick up rocks to bring so the babies can, so the mother can sit and crouch so the baby can come out, and she was talking about her experiences as a child and how she didn't know what she was doing at that time, didn't understand what her mom was doing, and why so many pregnant women were in and out of her house, but it stayed with her. And this beautiful, I call her Abuelita, this woman sat in front of us yesterday and dropped us some gems. She's still doing that work. Her mother taught her from birth. She remembers being involved in these practices, and that's why it's so important to involve your children in practices. And I'm not only talking about birth work or what you do as a career and showing them, no, I'm really talking about meditation, communication. Communication's big, when like a lot of kids don't know their feelings, as far as other than I'm happy and I'm upset.
Yep.
Kids can
Yep.
know I'm confused, I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm a little confused. So go ahead, Javante, you
No,
can.
I was just agreeing with you there because that's exactly what me and Betty were talking about last night in regards to today's discussion. Um, meditation is great, Reiki is great, them seeing us do that. But the most important thing for our children right now is learning how to communicate
Mhm.
effectively. We, in our generation, we didn't really receive that from our parents because they were so locked into that trauma response. They didn't know how to communicate with us. So we are the ones that have to unlearn and then try a new way in the same space as we're trying to hold ourselves back from snapping at them, going off, but then at the same time trying to learn how to connect to their emotions. So yeah, I was just agreeing with you there. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I'm kind of just giving a brief. I'm going to let you guys speak freely because I know you guys have some gems to drop. Like, I already know. But before I get into that, you guys, I want to give them a proper introduction, okay? Because we have some real dope people in the house today. Okay, so Javante. Javante is he obviously is a Reiki master. He is teaching Reiki. I believe they have a Reiki empowerment class where they're teaching the history of Reiki, how to channel that energy, the power of the Reiki symbols, and clearing and protection techniques. They're teaching to learn the art of self-healing, deepening your awareness, connecting to your spirituality, and emotional healing. So they are doing the work in the community, okay? I know, Javante, I think it hasn't passed yet, but you have an acupuncture and Reiki and sound healing. So if you guys have not got tickets and it's still available, please head over and support him. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Now, Betty. I love Betty. She is doing the work, okay? She is a holistic doula. Not only does she do Reiki on the side of her husband as a master, also and involved in those classes, but she's also providing that to the mothers of Arizona using Reiki for healing of the mothers and the babies. She's encouraging emotional release, easing stress, relaxation, pain and tension release. She's really putting in the work. And not only is she doing that and he's doing that, they're providing support to growing families, both of them, because just by giving this information, they're providing support to my family, your family, and I love that because there's no wrong or right, because I'm a very spiritual person, but that doesn't make me feeling like I know it all. Today I'm a student, like I really believe that I have to learn to be able to teach my children. I have to, like, yeah, my kids can see it, but I have to show them, like, and it comes to communication all the time with my kids. Like, sometimes I get um a little frustrated. And I'm honest with my kids. I'm like, you guys, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed today. Just give me 1 second. I try to use those words so my kids can understand, not I'm just angry or just get out of my face. Like, no, I'm overwhelmed, I'm a little confused, or I'm reading this and I'm just a little confused. Just give me one moment. So it's important to take in what you can, because there's no manual to parenting, there's no manual to life. And so conscious people are now doing conscious parenting. And people are like, what do you mean by that? And so that's why this conversation is super, super important. So please, if you have anybody, ping them into this conversation. If you think this, and this is not to throw shade like about nobody's parenting. We all can improve somewhere. We are growing, we are young. I'm a married woman at 30, and I'm pretty sure who I am now, I won't be in 10 years. I'm pretty sure I'm still going to be learning something every
Mhm.
single day. So take that as what it is. And I'm going to mute me, and I'm going to pass it on to Javante and Betty. So you guys can take the reign. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Kay, for that
Thank you
introduction.
so much. I really love how you mentioned about, right now you're kind of taking that seat and you're being the student. Because Javante and I are the same. We are students, and
Hmm.
every single day, our kids are teaching us. Our kids are teaching us how to navigate through life, and
Hmm.
every day we're learning, and really just trying to apply and be better than the previous day. Because trust me, there are days where, oof, the all tools go out the window, and we go there, we pop off, and then we have to get back into our breath and get back into, like, oh man, like, like that wasn't the right way to do things. And then going back and trying to relearn what we did, that pattern, break that pattern, and then
Hmm.
go back into doing it a different way. So we are students as well. And just wanting to let you know, just because we're on here and speaking doesn't mean that we know any better either. We're
Hmm.
also learning as well.
Every single day is a learning experience. And, it comes down in looking at this conversation and really wanting to help for any parents on here or anyone who's thinking about becoming a parent, leaving you guys with some points of reference of how you could fall back on this and develop it within yourself. And the first thing is awareness. We say that in our with our clients that we work with day to day. We teach our students this as well in classes. Awareness is the first step and the first key, because without awareness, we're simply shooting in the dark. Okay, so for us, we need to open our eyes and open up our minds to new ways and possibilities of how to connect with our children. We were taught a specific way through conditioning. So naturally, without even thinking, we're going to react and respond in a specific way. We have to become aware of what that conditioned response and reaction is. Once we can become aware of that within the communication and engagement with our children, then that's going to allow us to identify, all right, maybe yelling at them isn't the right way. But that's how I was taught. My mother would yell at me. She would tell me not to do this, not to do that. And the only way that I would be able to fix it or stop doing what I was doing is if she raised her voice. So naturally, I'm going to do that to my children because that's all I know. We got to become aware of that and then look at how is it affecting our children, right? Awareness.
First, it was like, how did it affect us?
Hmm.
Like, having that awareness of really seeing, like, man, like the way our parents parented us, like, yeah, right now I give them so much grace because they didn't know any better.
Yes.
But looking back and like having the chancla generation, where it was
Hmm.
like our parents would take the belts out, or really anything around that they could toss at us in that moment, or the yelling,
Hmm.
or really just, we grew up in this generation where it was like kids should be seen but not heard.
Hmm.
So we were really, really shut down. And so looking and having that awareness of, how did that affect me? And do I want to instill this and continue this pattern with our own children. And that's just having that awareness and that deeper understanding of like, okay, no, I do not want to repeat that pattern.
Yep. And so with that, as we start to open our eyes and become more aware of the engagement, the patterns that naturally come up, right? We have those knee-jerk reactions. We have to begin to pause, something that me and Betty have been actively practicing. So this is something that you want to write down or just make a mental note of. You have to actively practice having that pause. So instead of the children doing something that obviously they shouldn't be doing, something that you told them not to do, something that is going to frustrate you, instead of immediately reacting, taking a breath to just pause for a second. Allow yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling and not allowing yourself to react upon that impulse. That pause that you take is going to give you the room to respond correctly. Because then you're able to assess the situation. Okay, for instance, we have 4 children. Let's kind of give you guys a little backstory about us. We have 4 children. Our oldest is 12. Our daughter is 7. And then we have 2 young boys who are 4 and 3. So our 2 older ones, they were a breeze when it was just them. Then came our younger boys, the 4-year-old and 3-year-old,
You're like
and
tornadoes.
they were on the other side. Was like, oh, mom and dad think they got it good. Wait till we come to Earth side. Wait till we incarnate into the physical. We gonna give you a run for your money, and that's exactly what they're doing, right? So what we're needing to do is look at it from their perspective. What my child right now, what state are they in? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to do? How are they feeling? So that I could then respond correctly. Because they might just be in la la land having fun using their imagination. So they might be loud. They might be running around. They might be putting their toys everywhere. But that doesn't give me the right to sit there and yell at them and ruin the moment for them. How can I redirect them? So having that pause when something is happening will allow me in that moment to say, okay, they're just having some fun. They're being children, which is what we need them to be right now. They don't need to grow up. They don't need to learn all the discipline acts just yet, right? So let me hold this space for them. Let me give them the room to play. But how can I redirect them? Hey, guys, you don't need all these toys out. Or, hey, can you just bring it down a little bit? We're inside the house, we're not outside. Hey, don't run because the last time you ran, you fell down and hurt yourself, right? So it's just about redirecting once we're able to identify in that moment of pause what's going on in that situation. And so really that's the first step into conscious parenting is developing the awareness in the moment because we're going to have multiple moments. I can't tell you how many times during the day we have to literally stop what we're doing to redirect our attention on our kids to shift their moment, their
Mhm.
shift their state.
It's an all day thing, multiple times a day.
So we're talking about, like, for instance, nervous system. Our nervous system is deregulated because we're a roller coaster. We're going up and down, highs and lows, because we constantly have to come back to, all right, how do we redirect this? Stop fighting, stop yelling, talk about your feelings, express yourself and use your words. You don't have to scream, you don't have to yell, right? So for us, that's been the biggest thing I will say over these years. Now, more so now than before, because we grew in awareness. We were looking at how we were responding to our children. We were looking at how that was affecting them. And now we're at the point where we understand we can't just react. We have to respond and then redirect them. And so that's the first thing that I would give all of you is to focus on is that awareness. But then also to your example, um, how do you live day to day?
Mhm.
So, like Kay mentioned, me and my wife Betty, we're both Reiki practitioners. We are attuned at the master level when we teach it, but this is something you never master. We're constantly being a student of this art, and so this is our life. We have sessions every single day. We teach classes, we hold events, and so our kids see us in this space. We either take them to our classes, they come with us to the events, and we practice this at home. And especially when they're emotionally unstable and they're emotionally all over the place, we actually give them Reiki to help calm their nervous system and bring relaxation to them. And so they are getting firsthand experience as to what this energy provides them. And so that's another part in being able to raise our kids in a conscious way, is how are we living our lives? So we've done a lot of self-reflection, looking at the things that we give our awareness and attention to and our energy to. And it's helped us to identify what needs to go and where we need to spend more time.
Yeah, it really is a day-to-day thing on leading by example. Like this is a true testament of that. Um, for example, yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day
Mhm.
before, we woke up in our kitchen to a huge puddle of water. Huge
Yes.
puddle of water. Like literally it looked like there was a pond in our kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And Javante and I we got up at 6 because that's when I found it, and we just started working together and getting it cleaned up.
Hmm.
We were talking to each other, communicating, and just staying really calm. And our
Oh yeah.
oldest, our oldest
I remember that.
was just sitting there, and I could tell his brain
He was
was
puzzled.
he was just puzzled and just looking at us. And he goes, I don't know. He's like, how are you guys so calm right now?
Uh-huh.
And so I just took that moment to really just like, hey, like this is a situation that's out of our control. And we're just doing what we have to do in the moment. And this is just right now, the moment is cleaning it up
Yep.
and working together. And there's no reason for us to be angry or frustrated. That yes, we can go there
Hmm.
because this is not fun having to wring out the towels, go outside. Like it was a whole process.
Yep.
And he just was sitting there just looking at us. It's like an amazement, kind of like, why? How are they so calm?
Literally, he's like, "How are you guys so calm?" And I was like, "Look, man, it's like the only way this is going to get better is if we do some work for it now. And if we sit here and complain and pout, kind of like your brothers do, right? They don't like to pick up their toys when we tell them to, or they don't like to get off the tablets when we tell them to. They pout and throw themselves. If we do that, we're not making the situation any better. So we just have to do what we can in the moment, what's in front of us. And for him, I really did think that caused a shift within him to understand, like, we do have control. Even though there is something outside of our control, we can control ourselves. And so that's something that we do constantly share with them, especially in moments of their emotional instability. Um, they get to a point where they might get super frustrated and start crying, and their breathing gets shallow and they start to ball up their fists. And I had to tell my son that yesterday because I saw that happening. I had to tell him. I didn't even start to talk about why he's feeling this way. What's causing this? I first needs to change his state, his emotional state, his body, because he was so frustrated at something that any words that I said at that moment would have went over his head. So I had to first bring him back to the present and into his body by deeply breathing. And so once we were able to take 5 deep breaths, and I didn't move forward until we did that, we were able to talk and he was able to express. And then from, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. You said something that really you know your child, right? You were able to see your kid and be able to know that I could address him in this way, but I'm seeing him and I know him and I understand my child and I know that that won't be a great way to react to him despite
Mhm.
how you really wanted to act, you know? And
Yes,
that shows like you're respecting your child as the human being that they are, not because you're a child you have to act a certain way or do a certain thing.
absolutely.
I'm respecting you and I understand you and I'm going to respect you as such. And I love that. Sorry.
No, that's
Mhm.
actually a really good point, right? That goes back to the awareness piece, right? Are we aware enough to know our children and knowing how to communicate and connect with them, right? If he has his wall up, which he did, it was huge, it was thick. And I was like, okay, I just got to break this wall down and then we're going to be able to move forward. And so obviously that comes with time, as children are younger, like infants, it's going to develop over time. But that's where it comes to being conscious, being in the present moment to identify these things. And so we were able to move through it. And maybe 10, 15 minutes later, he was back to being his normal self. But these were some of the things that we start to implement. So we practice this ourselves with Reiki, meditation, deep breathing, but we're also instilling it within them. And we do approach them as that. You are your own entity. We have no control over you. Yes, we are your parents. You do have to respect us, and we do have authority over you, but we're not going to dominate you, right? This is not a
We're
dictatorship.
simply here to guide them because they are their own human beings and
Mhm,
they're here with their own blueprint and their own journey and their own lessons. And so we're simply here to guide them. And I really like how you mentioned about like getting them back into their body
mhm,
because right now they're so primal. They're so like they're literally little balls
mhm.
of feelings.
Yep.
And so they don't know how to regulate their own feelings, their own nervous system. And so we're the ones that as parents, we have to guide them and teach them how to get back into their body and
Mhm,
how to express and move through these emotions. And of course, it starts with us first. So, like Javante said, take that pause, have the awareness, take the pause so that we can regulate our own nervous
mhm.
system. And then we can get down on their level and start helping them get back into their own body.
Yeah, and it does help to do, kind of like the secular research and studying about child development, right? Their emotional development, from infancy all the way to age 7, they are in what's called the theta brainwave frequency. So it's like hypnosis. So that's why it's important the first few years of a child's life, the environment, the words, their experiences, all are vital to their development because it's going to set the foundation for their consciousness as they move forward after age 7. So in these years from our daughter to our younger 2 boys, we're really trying our best to monitor what they hear, how they're speaking to each other, what they're saying, some of these practices that we know that will help them. Because if we can lock it in now, as they grow, it's going to be the fallback, right? As they go out into the world, kind of like our older child now, he's 12 years old. He's actually at a friend's house right now. And right before this call, Betty was like, should we go pick him up before we go to this soft opening for some friends? And I was like, nah, he's good. They're chilling. I talked to the dad. They're just hanging out at the house. But she goes, but the longer he's there, what if he's watching something that he's not supposed to? And I was like, that could have started within the hour of us dropping him off last night. So you kind of need to let go of the stories you're playing in your head that you're making up because we've instilled in him or we've talked to him about these types of situations. He's been around kids who've had cell phones and those kids exposed him to, pornography. So we've had to have those tough conversations. And we were like, yo, if you're seeing something that is inappropriate, that doesn't feel right, you either need to tell your friends to change it or you got to remove yourself from that situation. And if that does happen, don't be afraid to voice it to mom and dad because we need to protect you from those types of situations. And the only way that we can do that is if you communicate with us. You're not going to get in trouble. It's okay to talk about these things. So he's, slowly um, getting away from the nest, so to speak, right? So he's going to be placed in situations that obviously we're not going to be able to affect, influence, or control. But what we talk to him about, what we show him, what we instill in him is what's going to be the armor for him in those types of situations. And so it's important that as kids are younger, as children are younger, it's important that they understand what's what, the principles of life, moral value, being able to express themselves because communication is the biggest thing we feel is what's allowing us to have such an impact with our children. Communication is everything. So when they're upset, when they're frustrated and angry, we don't shut them down and tell them that, you can't speak. If they're yelling and stuff, we tell them, all right, you need to stop. But after that, tell me what's wrong. Why did you do X, Y, and Z? Giving them the floor to step into their expression because they are their own human beings.
Yeah, and something that we really like to do is especially for our two younger boys, instead of standing up and towering over them, because that could be very intimidating, is I like we literally crouch down
Hmm.
and get to their eye level and have this communication and really just look in their eyes and get on their level so they can feel like, oh, okay, they're with me here. They're not just someone that's towering over me and speaking at me. They're wanting to speak with me.
Yep. And that's something that I feel has been really helpful. And then also, too, the tone of voice. What we've been able to do with our children, um, you know, early on in my early parenthood, I would have this very direct, aggressive tone. And I noticed how that would immediately shut them down. And that wasn't my intention. But I wanted them to feel me. I wanted them to know, all right, this is serious. And so, what I had to learn over time, while being conscious and aware, that was the only way that I could figure it out, was I needed to change my tone. So I softened my voice a little bit. I slowed my words down a little bit. I didn't speak as loudly, but it was more concrete. My words and my voice was very stable, but it was able to kind of caress them and bring them in instead of repel them. So that has been very, very helpful in our communication and being able to get through to our children.
You guys hit on a good point. I'm similar to Betty. I'm like, what the, I don't send my kids over there because what are you guys watching? What do you guys have on the TV? So
Mhm,
and I have to catch myself, and my husband has to help me through that.
Mhm.
Because my worries are not my kids' worries. That's
Yeah.
mhm,
self projection. So what worries me may not worry them, and I shouldn't project that onto them. I should just guide them.
Mhm.
And my biggest thing, and I try to stand by this like all the time, that I try to be the first influence before
mhm.
my child hits the world and the world tries to influence them.
Yes.
So instead of, if something is put into a negative light, like, and I'm gonna just use, us as African American people, we are taught to not really love our features and ourselves, and that's where daily affirmation comes in. And so I do that with my kids their whole life. And so if they walk outside and someone says your locks are not beautiful, my daughter's going to look at them like crazy, like, oh,
Mhm,
I'm sorry that you feel that way. Like, because I think they're so beautiful, because they won't accept that self projection because they've been taught that is self projection, and
mhm.
I'm
That's
not
love.
going to harbor onto that. And I think as adults, we do that all the time. You guys hit like, you said something, I think it was Betty, you said that, we our parents wanted us to be seen but not heard.
Mhm,
And I that really sat heavy with me, because my mom used to always say, stay in a child's place. You
Mhm.
When you see adults talking, stay in a child's place. But what is a curious child's place? When you are doing these things in front of me and you're acting a certain way in front of me, could you really be upset with me being curious about what you're doing? And that's why it's very important for us to put our kids in the environment to
Mhm.
thrive, no matter what it is, whether it's a school, whether it's home. Just like if your kid is at school and you see that they're struggling in math, we're going to get our kid a tutor. So
mhm.
if our kid is at home and you see that they're struggling with some type of self-development, you're going to do what you have to do to help build them and develop them into the great human beings that they're growing to be. So
Absolutely.
I love books. So you got to, obviously I'm a birth doula, and I became a birth doula based off of my own experience with my baby, not having that many people who parent similar to me, or even being able to find people who want to have a natural birth. Like my family, my mom told me she thought my baby was gonna starve because I was gonna breastfeed. Like I was having to really break down the basics to everybody, and it
Mhm.
was just very confusing. So I really had to do the footwork, and that made me go educate myself. Like most of
Yep.
these certificates I have under my belt is really for me. And as I was learning and looking at documentaries and reading, I've learned that there's no expectation. Your kids can do whatever they want to do. They don't, up until the age of 3. Like 3 is after 3 they start second guessing themselves. But before 3, they can, if they want to speak Spanish, learn a language, do whatever, they don't stop themselves. they are
Yeah, there's no
they are
limits.
yeah, they're curious kids. The limits come when the parents said it to
Yeah.
them. So no, you can't do that. What are you trying to speak Spanish? You know you can't speak Spanish. Why can't they? Like they're
Right.
able to learn whatever they want. You can't do that. Why?
Yep.
Like, so stop telling the kids they can. We are capable of doing all things. The words are binding. So when you tell your kids you can't, they start to think it. I can't do anything. I can't be anything.
You
You
know that
have to. Yeah.
that's something that's really important, because as that happens, again, going back to that awareness piece, if we're aware in those moments, what that is actually revealing is the limitations within ourselves, and it's projecting out into our children. Right? We're
Exactly.
telling them that they can't because we have that belief. But our
Mm-hmm.
children is being a mirror. They are reflecting to us what we used to be, because they are limitless.
Yeah, they have literally no, they come into this world limitless. They have no limits,
No
no
limits
fears.
whatsoever. But as you said, after three, when the parents come in, we start to add on all of these conditions. And that is what takes them out of that limitless stage and puts them into a box.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to add to this, as we are talking about, communication and allowing our children to express themselves. When we started to really anchor in on connecting to our children, it was healing for me as their parent, because I never felt safe to express to my own mother.
Same.
So when I'm giving my child this opportunity to tell me how he or she feels, and they are upset, they're angry, and they got all the emotions behind their feelings and their words, my ego is being triggered in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where Betty would look at me and my face would say it, even though I didn't express it. But I was like, yo, who you think you're talking to? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you coming at me like that. But at the same time, they're not trying to hurt me.
No.
They're not trying to get me upset. This is actually them expressing how they feel. And it's okay. So in the moment, allowing them to do that gave me the doorway to my own healing of, oh, wait, I didn't express to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a problem for my child to tell me how they feel. All right, I got to do this inner work. This is all ego right here. All right, let's go ahead and clean this out, because it's okay. I want my child to feel safe to let me know how they feel.
Exactly. Because we make mistakes as parents, and who's the best to tell us other than our children? Mom, you didn't do
Hello.
that. You when you said that, it hurt my feelings. And
Uh-huh.
I'm big on duality with my kids because I let them express themselves, but I also express myself. So if my kids say something to me, they're snappy with me, I tell them, even if they didn't, because I'm not that sensitive, I'll tell them, I think you hurt my feelings when you
Mhm.
snapped on me and you told me like that when I was just trying to help you, and I'll appreciate if you can communicate with me when you're feeling down. You
Mm-hmm.
can
Yep.
come to me and talk to me if something is wrong with you, but you have to understand that other people have feelings also,
Mm-hmm.
and despite me, and I tell her all the time, despite me being adult, that does not mean that I don't have feelings. I still have
Mhm.
feelings and they still get hurt, or I still get in moods, and I work on myself. Healing doesn't stop. That's an everyday
Nope.
thing.
Every
I
day.
Everyday
got kids.
thing.
I'm healing every day. Like every day I'm getting to a new level of consciousness, and that looks different
Mhm.
every day,
Mm-hmm.
every week, every month, and so I just try to let them know that also we're all humans. I'm a human, you're human, we all matter. Your feelings matter, my feelings matter, and if we are in disagreement of something, we can communicate about anything. Don't
Yep.
feel I'm ever against you.
100%.
Yes. So I just wanted to share some books because my kids are really big on books. And so I got into the self help books for the children. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of How Full Is Your Bucket? It's a scholastic book written by Tom Rath. But this is really a great book about just teaching kids about understanding, like not everybody has what you may have, and you may feel like your bucket is half empty, but it really is half full, and it's important for us to be present and grateful for the things that we have, and really understand that we are showing gratitude not only to what's given, but really to ourselves, to the items our parents buy us. We have gratitude for them, so that means we take care of them. You know, anything that we're doing, we're showing you, we're basically, okay. Handling Your Ups and Downs by Joy Wilt. This is my favorite one, Handling Your Ups and Downs, because I have a 3-year-old and she speaks, but she's gets very, very frustrated and just wants to scream. And
Mm-hmm.
I let her scream, but then after that I have to tell her, I that's not a great way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
You do have words, and I hear you speak all the time, and if you need something, you need to speak and I could assist you. And if you are worried about anything, we can go through that and work
Hmm.
through handling those ups and downs. So that is these two books have been great. My kids have read them literally a million times.
Those are really good books. I'm gonna write them down so that we can get them for the kids. But as you brought up, yes, you said books. It made me think of two books for us as parents to read. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Shafali, but she has two books. One of them is called The Conscious Parent, and then the other one is called The Awakened Family. And both of those are really, really amazing books. She has so much information and guidance for us as parents on how to guide our children in a conscious way.
Yes, I love that. I'm definitely gonna have to look into these books. You said her name was Dr. Shafali?
Yeah, we'll
Shafali,
we'll
uh
put
huh.
it in the chat. We'll type it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys doing this for me. Honestly, I really feel you guys are the perfect example. And of course, I know we're all learning and we're all striving to do better for ourselves and for our children. But you guys are really showing the community that it can be done. And it's not easy, but if you do it, it can
Yeah,
be done.
yeah. There's
So
something that for me, this whole you got to understand this whole experience that we have, whether it's building a business, connecting with people and impacting people, raising and guiding children, being in relationships, everything is an experience. And I constantly go back to this mantra and this idea and philosophy of life is a school, experience is our teacher, and we are the students. So, what that means is that as we have our experiences and all of these lessons, sometimes it will be challenging and hard. However, it's meant to teach us something so that we can become better. So, whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever it is that you're going through, it is happening to you and for you so that you can evolve and grow. That is the name of the game here, as we live this human existence, is to grow and to develop at a soul and conscious level. And the only way that we can grow is by having experiences, right? You can look into nature, look at the plants, how they grow. First, they're planted in soil and dirt, right? And then the water moisturizes them and gives them life, and they continue to thrive and grow, and they finally break through the surface, and then they begin to bloom. So, as we go through these experiences, just remember, if you don't get anything else from this talk, just remember that you are meant to go through it so that you can grow through it.
yes, thank you guys for that. Um, the person who had a question, he left, but the last two ladies, if you guys have a question, please let us know. Put it in the chat, or you're welcome to come up. Again, thank you guys. Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Javante. Like, you guys are like,
Thank you.
Thank
I don't feel like you guys get enough flowers. So this is me giving you guys
you.
your flowers, like,
Thank
because you guys
you.
are a perfect example of of a a young family. Like, I think people always want to put into the light of you have to be a certain age to do something, and you don't. You can start now. You can start as soon as you have your kids, before you get your kids, while they're in the womb. Start
Yes.
preparing. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I it doesn't look like there's any questions. Kind of just yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions, but I did put those books in the chat. Again, everyone, this is a timeless learning session. Like you can literally come back to this and replay this over and over. If you didn't write any notes, you need to come back and take some notes. Javante was really like, look, developing the awareness in the moment, that pause.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn
That's
that
everything.
yesterday. Like, so I appreciate that. Like,
Yes.
so you guys take this information in and really meditate on it. You know, like it may not be something that resonates with you right now, but you may a year from now be like, you know what? I listened to a Clubhouse and Javante said something that really resonated with me, and reflect back onto that. And so I thank you guys so much. We can end here, and I appreciate you guys coming. And if you guys have any last remarks, please go ahead. Feel free.
You got anything to say, Mama?
I'm just like reflecting on the call, and we had some really good gems with having the awareness, just kind of as a recap, having the awareness, having that pause, and just really just having that communication. Really, I feel like it really comes down to the communication and how we're communicating with our kids, what we're instilling in them, and like how we're speaking and like really just speaking life into them. Is really just like that start. It starts here at home.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing I would say now, as we recap, looking at everything that we talked about, something that we didn't really touch on much, but we did a little bit, is that through this process of raising children and guiding children, we will be faced with our own projections and aspects of ourselves that need healing
Mm-hmm.
from the conditioning that we received when we were younger, because it's almost as if the next generation is meant to unearth what was already set to create something new.
And we're
So,
just starting. We're barely starting that right now. It's like, oh, we're
Yeah.
our generation is
mhm,
we're like having that shovel and we're like digging through, but our
mhm.
kids are gonna be the ones that are really gonna break that ground and change the soil.
So be graceful with yourself as you go through your parenting journey. If you are parents, if you're not a parent and you're hearing this and you're planning on it, just know that there will be challenging times, but do not beat yourself up.
Have so much grace.
Have
So
grace with
much
your
grace.
have grace with yourself, but also really put effort into that
Mm-hmm.
conscious awareness so that you can make the change and adjustments needed so that you can continue to grow.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Those look, that is amazing. Thank you guys so much. I that really resonated with me. Again, that I'm gonna implement that. Pause, take a breath. As soon as something happens, take a breath. Pause. I love that. So thank you again, Javante and Betty. They put their handle in the chat room. Please go follow them on all platforms. You really
Yes,
won't be
we'll
disappointed.
follow back.
Yes, okay, yes.
Thank
Follow
you
them.
so
And then
much.
Javante has acupuncture, Reiki, and sound healing coming up. Please go support. Go get that. You will not be disappointed. You know, Javante and his wife have really put into the footwork in this community, and they are
Thank
well
you.
known for the work that they do. Like it's not really about being known, you know, but they are known because of the work that they put out. And so you really won't be disappointed. So go follow them, go support them in their growing family. I'm saying growing. I don't know if you guys gonna have any
Oh
more
no,
No,
kids,
no
no
more.
but
more.
for their
Yeah,
four
these
kids, go
four,
support their
they
family.
growing. Yeah, these four are growing, but we ain't getting no
Look,
more,
We're
no
not
I
going.
mas.
look, I came from a doula training, so I'm just thinking all things baby right now.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just yeah, no, we're gonna continue to instill in them and continue to keep growing within our family. But yeah, no more. We tapped out at
No,
4.
no, the four is enough. I know, girl. We're one more to there, and I think that may be my limit.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It gets a
Well,
lot.
yes. Well, thank you. Peace,
Thank
love, and
you.
light. You guys have a great, blessed day, and I will
You as
speak to you
well.
guys soon.
Have a great one, guys.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Bye bye.